You know, I was standing in my kitchen the other day, washing an apple under the tap, and it hit me just how much has changed in how I think about food. Not the food itself, but what might be clinging to it, what it's touching before it even reaches my hands. If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be standing there, carefully brushing my cucumbers and thinking about invisible plastic particles, I might have raised an eyebrow. But here we are. The science has evolved, and honestly, so have our bodies. We can't afford to ignore what we now know. So let's start right there, in the kitchen, with something so simple that you might overlook it completely. It's the very first thing I do when I come home from the grocery store or the farmer's market. I unpack all those beautiful, vibrant plant-based foods and I wash them. I don't just give them a quick little splash, I wash them. I take out one of those big, deep, wide metal mixing bowls, the kind your grandmother probably used. You place your vegetables and fruits right in there. Then you let cold water run over them. I want you to just let it flow, and I want you to do that for at least 60 seconds. Not 10, not 20. A full minute, that steady stream of cold water needs to get in between the leaves, into the crevices, touching every surface it possibly can. Now don't just cram everything in there at once. If you overload the bowl, the water can't circulate, it can't do its job. So work in batches if you need to, and as the water is running, take a second to look at what's happening. You will be stunned, honestly stunned, by the amount of dirt that starts to collect at the bottom of the bowl. This isn't just visible dirt, this is soil from the farm, yes, but think of the journey your food has been on. It's the residue from the container it sat in during the long ride on a truck, a train, or even a plane. It's the dust from the warehouse, the back room of the grocery store, and the hands that placed it on the shelf. If you buy from a farmer's market, you still have, as my own grandmother used to say, schmutz that needs to go. This rinse under cold running water isn't just about aesthetics. It's incredibly effective. According to the USDA guidelines, this simple act of running water for a minute will actually wash away bacteria from the surface of your food. It doesn't just clean the food, it protects your body from what you can't see. But here's where the story deepens. What often comes as a surprise to my patients is that almost every piece of food you eat has had some contact with plastic long before it arrives on your plate. It's ubiquitous. From the field to the fork, plastic is part of the modern supply chain. This washing process is your single best defense. It's your opportunity to remove that chemical residue and those micro-sized hitchhikers. And this leads me directly to another choice you make right there in the produce aisle, before you even think about a mixing bowl. I want you to skip the plastic produce bags. You know the ones, they sit there on a roll, and it's habit to just rip one off for your broccoli or your apples. I'm telling you, this is a habit worth breaking. I stopped doing this years ago, and I want to encourage you to do the same. Instead, invest in a reusable cloth bag. It's a simple switch. You bring it with you, you fill it with your fresh food, you take it home, and you use it again next time. Not only is this substantially better for the environment, avoiding the endless cycle of plastic that ends up God knows where, but it is better for you, because every piece of plastic we casually throw away doesn't just vanish. It degrades and it ends up in the water, in the soil, and yes, ultimately, fragment by fragment, it wins up right back inside our own bodies. Choosing cloth is a conscious act of protecting your personal health and the planet's. Now let's move from the grocery bag to your kitchen cabinets. Open them up for a moment. Look at your food storage containers. I used to have a rainbow of plastic storage containers all over my house. I grew up with them. My mother absolutely loved them. She would pull them out and say, "Look how convenient." Inexpensive, lightweight, they stack perfectly, and they have such lovely colors. That was then, and her enthusiasm made perfect sense at the time. But this is now, and our understanding has to change with the evidence. We now know that those plastic storage containers, especially when they hold warm food or acidic food, can shed tiny plastic particles directly into what you're about to eat. The lid, interestingly, is usually okay as long as it's not in contact with the food. So here's what I've switched to and what I recommend to my patients. Get yourself a set of glass containers. A good old Pyrex bowl is your best friend. Metal containers are excellent too. You can use a plastic lid just fine as long as there's space between the top of your food and that lid. It's a straightforward swap that removes a massive source of daily exposure without making your life any harder. I want to talk about the produce that's a little more delicate, or rather, the produce with thinner skin. I'm talking about apples, cucumbers, even carrots. For these, water alone might not soothe your mind once you understand what clings to them. After you've done your 60-second rinse, I recommend using a soft brush, not a plastic one, of course, but one with natural bristles or even one of those bamboo scrapers. You gently brush the surface while the water runs. You're physically dislodging what the water alone can't lift. And once you're done, the final step is to dry them with a real clean cloth towel. I mean real cotton, not those plastic microfiber towels that are so common now. Real old-fashioned cotton. It's funny, in the old days, our grandparents and great-grandparents used to dry everything with a cloth towel. They washed their food and they stored it without plastic. We've come full circle, realizing that their way, the simpler way, was actually a healthier path for our bodies. Now, I have to be completely honest with you as your doctor. It is frankly impossible to completely avoid all microplastics. We have to accept this truth so we can act without fear. They are so pervasive that we are breathing them in right now with the very air around us. I've talked before about a surprising fact that a lot of people don't realize. One of the single largest sources of airborne microplastics is tires. As cars and trucks drive, the friction from the road spinning around literally grinds off tiny plastic particles, flaking them everywhere. We inhale them constantly, so we can't live in a bubble. The goal is not perfection. The goal is harm reduction. Every single step you can knowingly take about the way you buy your food, the way you wash it, the way you store it, and even the cookware you use, all of this matters. Don't cook with a plastic spatula. Switch to wood or metal. These are small, conscious steps that layer on top of each other, and cumulatively they can dramatically lower your exposure over time, making a real physiological difference. So that's the challenge. But this is where things get genuinely fascinating, and I want to shift our conversation from just avoiding plastics to what we can actually do about the plastics that are already inside us or are unavoidable. Because researchers have been asking the exact same question, and they've found a powerful ally hiding. In plain sight, they asked, if microplastics are in our food and we inevitably ingest them, is there something we can eat alongside them that prevents those particles from lodging into our tissues and blood vessels? The answer is a clear yes, and it's something you should be prioritizing in your diet anyway. It is dietary fiber, ordinary, beautiful, plant-based fiber. This is huge. Let me break down why fiber is so brilliant for this, but first, let me remind you of the classic reasons it's a non-negotiable for good health. Number 1, fiber keeps your bowels moving, making you more regular. That's the one everyone thinks of. But number 2 is the reason I find truly extraordinary. Dietary fiber is the primary food source for your healthy gut bacteria. Good gut health is the absolute bedrock of your overall health. When you feed those good bacteria well, they thrive. And when they thrive, they release these magical healing substances called short-chain fatty acids into your bloodstream. These short-chain fatty acids go everywhere, lowering systemic inflammation, improving your brain health and mental clarity, speeding up your metabolism, and even helping your body heal more efficiently. Fiber also famously helps sweep cholesterol out of your system. That was already an incredible resume, but now we're adding a new job title to dietary fibers list. A very new line of research, including a captivating study from Hunan University in China, suggests that dietary fiber can actively help your body flush out microplastics. This is a potential solution right alongside the problem. So, how does it do this? There are 3 distinct mechanisms that I want you to understand. First, when you chew your food and you're consuming fiber, it actually binds to the microplastics already present inside your gut. Imagine the fiber acting like a tiny sponge or a magnet. As it moves through your digestive tract, it sticks to these rogue plastic particles. By binding to them, the fiber physically prevents those microplastics from being absorbed through your gut wall and into your bloodstream. They become too large and entangled to cross that barrier. So instead of entering your body, they simply hitch a ride on the fiber train all the way out. Second, dietary fiber helps to strengthen the very lining of your gut. Think of your gastrointestinal tract as a long, incredibly important tube, just like a garden hose, about 40 feet of it winding from your mouth to your anus. The lining of this tube has to be incredibly strong and tightly sealed. If that lining weakens, the tight junctions between the cells can loosen up. Little gaps start to form, a condition we call leaky gut. It's much more common than we ever thought in medical school. I can tell you this wasn't really a focus of my training, but now we're seeing it everywhere. A leaky gut allows things that should stay inside the tube to slip out into your sterile body cavity, triggering massive inflammation and immune responses. Dietary fiber strengthens and tightens this lining. It heals the hose, if you will. With a tight, strong gut lining, any microplastics you have ingested are less likely to just dissolve out into your body. The fiber has them bound up and the gut wall is reinforced to keep them moving down, all the way to elimination. And the third mechanism is actually the most profound. As I said, fiber feeds your bacteria. That healthy, well-fed gut microbiome then produces those short-chain fatty acids, which circulate and actively counter inflammation. So let's say some microplastics do manage to slip through your defenses and get into your bloodstream. Once there, they can cause irritation and inflammation in your blood vessels and organs. The short-chain fatty acids generated by your fiber-rich diet work as a direct antidote to that inflammation. They calm your system down. So to summarize, dietary fiber does 3 powerful things. It blocks absorption, it removes plastics through elimination, and it protects against the inflammation plastics can cause. It is a block, remove, and protect strategy. It's truly another deeply compelling reason why I am always talking about eating more fiber. Now I want to give you some of my own personal pro tips on how to integrate this protective practice into your daily life. First and foremost, build a diet that is naturally very fiber-rich. We're talking about an abundance of fruits and vegetables. Don't just think about apples and broccoli. Think about mushrooms, which are a wonderful source of fiber. Avocados are packed with it. Legumes are my absolute favorite to recommend. We're talking white beans. Black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils are a powerhouse. These are foods that should be staples on your plate. Then you have whole grains. There are so many reasons whole grains are good for you, but now we can add microplastic protection to that list. Nuts and seeds are another fantastic category. Tree nuts like walnuts, pecans, almonds, pistachios, macadamia nuts, and Brazil nuts. All of their dietary fiber works on your behalf to protect you from microplastics, alongside all the other beneficial healthy fats and minerals they provide. And there's a special subcategory here that I want you to pay close attention to: soluble fiber and particularly resistant starch. You find this in oats, flax seeds, lentils, and apples. And here's a very cool little kitchen trick: when you cook rice and then let it cool in the refrigerator, or bake a potato and then cool it down, the regular starch undergoes a transformation. It turns into resistant starch. This is a potent fermentable fiber that your gut bacteria absolutely feast on. It is highly effective at binding toxins and pushing them out of your system. You're essentially upgrading your food's protective power just by letting it get cold. My second tip is to stay hydrating. I tell people this constantly: our bodies are 50 to 70% water. It's the medium in which all our biological processes happen. And when it comes to fiber trying to protect you from microplastics, hydration is the critical partner. Fiber works best when it's fully hydrated. Think of dry fiber versus wet fiber. One is like a scouring pad, the other moves like a smooth gel. Water keeps everything flowing: your blood, your lymphatic system, your digestive contents. It helps the fiber sweep things along smoothly. And of course, make sure your water is clean. A good water filter is a wise investment to ensure you're not accidentally drinking more of what you're trying to avoid. Find a really clean, trusted source of water. The third tip is about diversity. It's definitely best to get your fiber from real whole foods rather than just relying on a single supplement. Even if you have a fiber powder you like, don't let that be your only source. Your gut is an ecosystem with trillions of bacteria, and different bacterial species prefer different types of fiber. You need to give them a mixed buffet to keep the whole community strong and resilient. Eating a wide, diverse array of fibrous foods creates a robust gut microbiome, and that robust microbiome in turn produces a wide array of beneficial compounds that keep inflammation from microplastics or anything else in check. Let's pull it all together. Let me give you a little recap of what we've covered here, so you walk away with a clear, actionable plan. We started with microplastics, why we need to avoid them. Because these tiny particles have infiltrated our food and water to such an extent that they are now being discovered inside the human brain. It's a startling truth. The ways you can avoid them are practical and within your control. Reject plastic containers, plastic bags, plastic water bottles, plastic cooking utensils, plastic plates. And those red plastic cups you see at every party or ball game, just become a person who politely declines them. You have the power to make a different choice. Next, eat more fiber. So much fiber, more than you think you need. This is how you help your body actively remove the microplastics you simply cannot avoid. You can't stop breathing the air, but you can lower the risk inside your gut. Best to mix up your sources, eat the rainbow of plants, and remember that glass bowl in your fridge. And as we consider the water we drink, let's think about heavy metals for a moment. Something else many of you ask me about: cadmium, lead, arsenic, mercury. There's another easy ritual that can help here, and it's as calming as it is effective. Try steeping tea. When you steep black tea, for instance, or even powdered tea, the tea leaves act as a natural binder. The cellulose in the bag and the compounds in the leaves can actually latch onto heavy metals, filtering them out of the water you're about to drink. And by drinking the tea, you're also flooding your body with beneficial polyphenols that lower inflammation, improve your metabolism, support brain health, and even help cut off blood supply to early cancer cells. It's a beautiful dual action. You clean your water and you heal your body, all in one warm, soothing cup. These are simple, understandable steps that we can all take. We've lost some of the old wisdom and traded it for modern convenience, but we can choose to go back to what feels right. Glass, metal, cotton, whole foods, water, and tea. It's not about living in fear of the modern world. It's about navigating it intelligently, taking the protective measures that are proven, and feeling empowered in our own kitchens. You are not helpless against these invisible invaders. You have the tools, and now you have the knowledge. It's a cumulative effect. Every fiber-rich meal, every glass of filtered water, every mindful swap from plastic to glass is a deposit into your long-term health bank account. If you found this discussion helpful and you want to continue exploring these practical, science-backed health tips with me, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps this information reach more people, and we are building a community of individuals who want to take their health into their own capable hands. Share this video with a friend or a family member because these are the conversations that can change our health from the ground up. These are not complicated medical interventions. They are simple, daily acts of self-respect that can make a profound difference over a lifetime. I am so grateful to have this time with you. I'm Dr. Meilin, and I'll see you in the next one.